Yeah, good evening, guys. Hello.
Very good
Yeah,
evening.
yeah, good evening, guys. Yeah. Second, let me share my screen. Okay. So, what we discussed in last class, anyone have idea about it? In last class, we seen how we can create it, right? What is this? I think, yeah. So, this is the one we are created. In the last class, we seen how we can able to create an API by using Anyone Studio. So for the REST-based API, so there are different HTTP methods are there, right? So what are the methods? Can anyone tell me what are the HTTP webs we are using most frequently? These we can call it as HTTP methods. Anyone?
Get
Yeah.
Get,
So first one is the get. Tell me
then put,
the get put
put,
put or post. First one. It is a post.
your
Third
post.
one is as a delete.
Then put, delete.
Delete. Fourth one is the put. And the last one is there any other thing is there?
Patch.
So we already created all this one. At the interview point of view times, the most important one is what is the difference between, so I can write the question here also. Then it is very easy. What is the difference between post, put, and patch? So this is the most important interview question. Just remember what did the post can do? Then can anyone tell me what the post can do? What is the post? What operation it is going to perform at the post?
update it.
Read or write. Update is somewhat
Gives
different,
us
right? So
right,
I remember. So read or write. Post.
Right.
right,
Write means
creating
so it is going to create a new resource, right? That's
response.
important one. Just a minute. This not response. It is going to create a new resource. That means new data or new record, right? So new one. So new data is created inside of whatever the database or file or something. Then what about this put? First we will see the patch. Then we can. So what patch can do? So the name itself indicates the patch. Generally, what is the meaning of the patch? Maybe you guys have in the bikes or mopeds or something, na? So what is the meaning of the patch? Your tire got punctured. So what you are going to do it? Your tire got punctured. So what you are going to do? You can simply leave the tire and you can go to the shop and you can buy the new one, na? So what you are going to do? Your tire got punctured.
Do the puncture. Will,
So that is what the action. So
We'll
you can
patch it.
simply so the same
Yeah,
existing is there we can
we'll
do
patch
some
it also.
modification, right? So that patch always remember the words. The data is already there, so we need to modify the data. Then we going to use the which method? Patch method. That the patch is nothing but we can able to do the modifications. Whenever we do the modification, when the modification is happen, when the record is already there, a record is already there, then whenever we want to do any modification, then in such situations we need to use the patch. Okay, so the post always creates the new record. So just remember, so it is always performing the write
Right.
operation. That means it is going to create a new resource. Whereas the patch always it is data is already there, record is already there. We need to do some modification. In those situations, we need to use the patch. The third one is somewhat different. That is your put. So let us take a same example. Your tire got punctured, but unfortunately, it can't be repairable. So we are unable to repair that tire. So what you are going to do? So again, you can do any patches. It is not unable. It's very hard to repair it. So what you are going to do? You,
We'll replace it
So
to
that's when replace is nothing but if the already record is there, we need to remove the data and we need to create the new one. Then in those situations, we have to use the put. So just remember, whenever we talk about the put operation, there are two operations we are going to perform it. The first one is you can see if the, just remember, the record or item. So the record not existed. So if the record is not existed, then it is going to create a new one. Okay, if the record is already existed, if the record is not existed, then what we are going to do, we are simply going to, so we can simply creating the new one. If the record is already existing and we are going to perform the put operation, then what is the meaning means, if the record is exist, then so what we need to do, first we need to remove the delete, so first we need to delete that record and add new one. So this is the difference between post, patch, and put. Technically, this is the most important interview question. Just remember. So the what post can do means the intention of the post method is it always creating the new record. So it is always performing the write operation. But whereas patch is if the record is already there, so you need to do some modification. So in those situations, we have to use the method name as a patch. Then put is somewhat different. So inside of the put, we are going to perform two basic operation. If the record is not existed, then we are simply going to create a new one. If the record is already existing, first we need to delete that record, then we need to add the new one. Okay, so these are two things you can't remember it. Okay, so the interview point of the time, these are most important, guys. Okay, so post, patch, and put, these are, we can call it as HTTP methods, or are, so this someone already someone already called this one HTTP webs. So both are same. So at the interview point of your time, this is the most important one. I think in yesterday calls also we are seeing two important ones. How, what the thing? So I can write question here. What is this one? First question is how we can able to restrict it. So how we can able to, if you not specify any records, what is the one? So these are the one, just interview question, just remember. Okay, so how we can able to restrict the HTTP methods, what are the settings, where we need to change the settings, you guys are tell me. So where we can able to change the settings, the HTTP, how we can able to restrict it. If you open the any point studio, it is very
Yes,
easy, but let us.
under listener.
So for the HTTP listener, there is advanced tab is there. So just select advanced tab. Then you need to go to the allowed methods are there. So there we need to, set it. So this is the way we need to explain it. Okay. Then one more interview question is the most 99% you are facing this interview question. What is the difference between post method, patch method, and put method? Post always creates the new one. Patch always do the modification to the existing one. The put, if the record is not there, it is going to create it. So if the record is there, it is automatically delete the one and it is adding the one. So these are all about the introduction to your REST API, HTTP methods and webs. Okay, now, so for example, every time I am saying your application is generating some data, that data is we need to push to your API. So you can see in the last class, you are created some 4 APIs. So in this, the 4 APIs, you are not taking any data, right? You can simply displaying some messages, get flow, post flow, delete flow, something, right? So now what is my intention is I am sending some data. So for example, I am sending some text data. So where it is available inside of the Mule application, it is very simple. We no need to remember any lengthy of key names or keywords. It is simple. We need to remember only 3 words. Okay, that entire thing I will explain today's class. That today's topic is Mule event object model. So I can write here. Very simple. Mule event object model. Okay. So what is the intention of the Mule event object model is you are going to create what kind of APIs you are going to create a REST based API. We need to send some data to the REST based API where the data is available. That entire data is always available inside of. So in the Mule point of view, your entire data is available inside of where it is available, where it is available.
Mule event.
Mule event. So what is the exact meaning of Mule event? Now we are going to see it. It's a very simple one. Okay. So let's see, you can see this is the generally, this is the way of, sorry, 1 second. So generally you can see how the mule flows are executing vertically or horizontally. In previous classes we have seen how we are adding the components
Horizontal.
horizontally or vertically. So horizontally, that means your flow is always travel sequentially. That means first we are executing this event source. After executing this one, we can simply go to the next one. After executing this one, again we can go to the third one. So in the way we can sequentially we are going to execute it. Just remember it. For example, you can see. So for example, this is event process. That means you are executing this process means you are executing something. So that means definitely this component generating some data. Let us assume this is output it is generating. So where that output is available, you can see. So whatever the output generated by this particular component, again where it is available, where it is available.
Mule event.
So that means you can see in the mule point of view, everything is available inside of the everything. So input data or output data or processor data, everything is available inside of everything is available inside of
Mule event.
mule event. So this is the point you have to remember it, guys. Okay. So for example, you can see, let us assume. So I think in the previous class we seen it. One second. Let me. Okay. So for example, this is my so this is my event source. For example, after executing this one, we can whatever the output generated by this particular component, it is carry forward to as the input to this event process. So it is consuming this output and it is going to process the data and it is again generating some output now. So where that entire output is available, where this entire output is available, where this entire output is available, where this entire output is available.
Mule event.
Mule event. So this entire event is again carry forward to the next process and it is consuming the data and it is again creating some output. Again, where this output is available, again there is a mule event is there. There only we can able to get this event. That means every stage, whatever the data you are consuming or whatever the data you are creating, everything is available inside of inside of inside of
Mule event.
mule event. So let's see what are the components inside of the mule event. Now you can closely observe it. The mule event is the part of two things. Okay, what is the first one? Forget about these things. First you can read out this word. What is this one?
Message. Message.
So what this message? This entire thing we can call it as a mule event. So this we can call it as a
Message.
no. Mule message, just formality. Okay. So this is the mule message. The next one, these are called variables. That means your mule event contains two parts. The first one is the message part. The second one is the variables. Okay. For as of now, just forget about what is the variable. Now we are going to see the mule message. So you can see again the mule message again the two parts. What is the one?
Payload.
Payload. The second one is
Attribute.
so it's here where you need to remember one thing. So what is the meaning of the payload is nothing but whatever the data we are creating that we can call it as a payload. So just remember what the payload is nothing but what is the payload is nothing but data. Then what about this attribute? Technically this we can call it as
Metadata.
metadata. Down you can see data is there, metadata is there. So entire data we can call it as a payload. That means you are executing some component, it is creating the data. Where it is available? Where it is available? Payload. So the attributes, what is the metadata? I will explain. So you can see the data and the metadata both are again available inside of
Message.
message.
Mule
That
message.
means
Mule.
now you can see. So for example, I want to display whatever the data and whatever the metadata. Which component I need to display? Which component
Mule
I need to
message.
display? Mule message, right? So the question is how you can able to display the message. Means you can very simple. You can start with the hash symbol and within the square bracket. So you need to define it. So here, which one I need to display? Message. So whatever the thing you are written, this we can call it as a MEL expression, Mule expression language. So what is the MEL expression? Is nothing but you can start with the hash symbol and you need to write inside of square bracket. So this expression we can call it as a, we can call it as a, we can call it as a
Mole expression.
MEL expression. So inside of this one, so if you want to print the payload, then you can print, you can write payload. So if you want to print the attributes, then in between the square brackets in the hash symbol, we can use the word attributes. For example, both I want to print it, then I can use which word? Message,
Mule
right?
message.
So
Yeah.
now, as of now, just remember what is the data and what is the metadata, how we are going to use it. Okay. So where this entire thing is available, this entire data and metadata, everything is available inside of
Mule event object only.
so mule event object. So the next one is 1 second. So inside of the mule event only it is available. Inside of the mule event, again there are two parts available. The first one is the mule message. The second one is the variable. So inside of the mule message, again we have payload and attribute. What is the payload?
Attributes.
So what is the payload?
Data.
Technically, data. So what is the attributes?
Metadata about data.
Right now, in the next session we can see what is the difference between metadata and data. So now, so there is only one place is there inside of the mule event only. We can able to send the data, we can able to receive the data. Let's see how we are going to access it in the real main, how we are going to access it. Okay, so discard we can see. So let's say, for example, this is the same flow. Let's me simplify. I'm creating the new one, then it is very easy. Close project. How we are going to create a new project? Tell me how we are going to create a new project. File, then go to the
File.
new,
New.
then we need to select
Mule
mule project.
project.
So while creating the mule project, what is the most important things you need to remember? You need to remember.
Project name.
No. Is there anything you need to remember it? Anything?
Mole server.
Anything? So this is the one always remember. So you can see which version of the Mule Enterprise editions you are working. So this is your runtime, right? In the real time, they are using 4.3.0 or 4.4.0. Which one? So it is available here. So we need to select that particular one and we need to give the project name. So this is the one always remember. So if you want to install any other, you can simply give the install runtime. It is automatically install it. So which runtime I am using? What is the version of my Mule runtime?
4.4.
4.4.0. So just remember, guys. No, okay. Learn, finish. Now we are going to create a simple one, and now you can see it is already created one. Oh, so we are going to create a web-based API, right? So which one? What is my starting point? What is my trigger point here? How
HTTP.
HTTP? The next one.
Listener.
So we can simply drag and drop it. So what the next thing we are going to do whenever we drag and drop it?
Configuration.
We need to configure it. So you can simply click on HTTP listener. So there is a configuration button, connector configuration is there. Click on plus symbol. You can see HTTP, all host is all interfaces, port is 8081. Just leave it. The next one. So we need to give your endpoint. I'm going to give endpoint as a test. Okay, that's it. I want to allow all the methods. That's why I'm not mentioning any methods here. That's it. Click on save. So just remember, this is the best practice. Whenever you are starting any HTTP listener, by default, just add one logger and you can display some message, flow started or something, right? Flow starts. Okay, something. The next one is, so what is my intention is from the postman I am sending some data. So whatever the data I am sending, that should be displayed here. That is my requirement. So how we can get it? So for example, let's see. Okay, I'm adding one more logger here. Let's see. So for example, please go on mute, guys. Close, go on mute. Okay, now you can see I'm adding one logger here, but you can able to see previously we are seen, right? So what we seen, so whatever the data is you are create that entire thing is available inside of the mule message. So how you are going to print your mule message? By writing this mule expression, right? Now what is my intention is, for let us assume, so I want to display whatever the data is available inside of this mule message. Okay, so how we can able to print it? Tell me the syntax for this one. What is the syntax for it? You can start with the mule expression, start
Hash
with the
message.
hash, and within the square brackets, you need to print entire message, MESSAGE. Let's see what happens. I don't know what is the data is coming. Let's inspect it. So how you can able to execute it? Simply give the right click and run the project. Let's see what is the data is available inside of the mule message. Everything we are going to see it. So these are the basics, right? So there is only one word is there, either your data is available inside of the payload or inside of the attributes or inside of the variable. So these are only three places only we can able to remember. We need to remember it. No other places are there. It's very simple they are using. So my application is deployed. So how we can able to execute it? By using your testing IDE. I'm opening my Postman and localhost, and what is my endpoint name?
Test.
Test, right? So you can see I'm not passing any data, let's assume. Okay, let's send it. So my API got executed successfully. Is it right? Is it
Yes.
correct? As how we can set that one?
Status code.
So what is the status code it is returning? It is returning the 200. That means your API has got executed successfully. Then go and see. So let's see, this is your console window. You can see what is the, so whenever you are starting the flow, the starting logger, it is displaying the flow start. That means from this point of view, your API is starting. So what is the second logger intention? The second logger is always printing the entire mule message. That means whatever the data here you are seeing, this is the data available inside of your mule message. Let's copy it and let's see what is the data is available here. I mean, pasting here. Let's inspect it. Okay, now you can closely observe it. So this is the one you can see I'm defining different things here. So you can see your entire mule message is comes into two parts. The first one you can able to see what is this one. Just
Payload.
read out the word payload. The second one is,
Attributes.
that means you can see the previous slides you seen this now. So in your mule message is the combination of two things. The first one is the payload, the second one is the,
Attributes.
so now you can see, so this is the both the two are available here now. So your entire mule message contains the data as well as
Attributes.
what is the technical word? Data, and what is the second thing we are talking about?
Metadata.
Metadata. Now you can see here the what is the meaning of the metadata is nothing but, for example, when someone is asked about, so inside of your hand, so there is iPhone is there. So when someone is asking what are the specifications of your iPhone, then what is your answer? What is specifications of the iPhone means? You are talking about the price. So what are the things you are talking about?
Features.
That tell me what is the simple example. So my iPhone have the A15 chip, 64 GB of internal memory, 8 GB of RAM. So 64 megapixel of this one. What are all these things? These are the features is nothing but these are properties of that particular mobile phone. Huh? Am I
Yes.
right, guys? So that's, remember, guys, the data is nothing but what is the output. This is generated by that particular component. So what is the meaning of the metadata is nothing but depending on what connector you are using. So what is the properties of that particular connector? That technically we can call it as a metadata. So in this example, what is the connector I am using? What is the connector I am using?
Listeners.
So what listener it is?
HTTP.
So for example, what are the properties for the HTTP listener? Can identify it? What are the properties? You can see what is the path you are giving, what is the port number you are giving, what is the protocol you are using, so what is the allowed method you are using. These are all the properties of this particular HTTP listener, right?
Yes.
Right now you can observe it. So you can see what is the path you are getting, that is available inside of attribute. So what is the local address, so you can see everything. This is the end path, you can see. So what is the protocol you are using. So if you are not providing any method, that's why it is not displaying. So everything, that means you can see inside of attributes, whatever the data you displaying, that is treated as a data or metadata.
Metadata.
So is it fixed one, or depending on the connector, it is various?
Varies.
So that is the point, just remember guys. So whatever the connector you are using, depending on that one, your metadata will be changes. The same thing, depending on which operation you are performing, your payload is also changes. Now I understand it, right? Got it, guys? What is the difference between data and a metadata? The metadata is nothing but depending on which connector you are using, what are the properties of that connector, it is always, we can treat it as a metadata. That metadata is available inside of the what?
Attributes.
Attributes. Your data is available inside of a
Payload.
payload. Now, let's see. So what is my
Srinath,
yeah,
sorry
one
to
by one.
interrupt you. Can you tell me again what is the data?
Yeah, first you can see the example, then you can understand what are the
Okay.
data and everything. Okay, let's see. So in this one, I am not displaying, you can see. So instead of this one, I don't want to display entire message, I want to display only the data, right? So where your data is available, inside of which word,
Payload.
right?
Payload.
Now we can see I'm using the word, the payload. Let's see, save the program, let's me run it one by one, you can observe it. So from the point of view, where we can send the data, and is it everything, now you can visualize it. I think it is got executed. Let's say test. You can see I'm not sending any data. Okay. Now go on to see. This is the flow starts. Is there any data it is displaying? Is there any data it is displaying?
No.
No, why? Because I'm not sending any data now. So now you can observe it from the postman, I'm sending the data. So where we can send the data means, as of now, just remember. So what is the one?
Body.
Body, click on body. So which kind of data we are sending? You can simply click on raw data. So here I'm sending which kind of data?
Text.
Now you can see, hi, welcome. Now let's visualize it. This is the data generated by your front end application. Okay. Now we can send it. You can see whatever the data I am sending, that is displaying here. Why it is displaying? Why it is displaying? Because inside of the logger you can see what is the payload, what is the data you are printing. So the payload is nothing but at this point, whatever the data you are consuming, that entire data we are going to print it. So you can see this is the data you are sending now from any point studio. So we can call it as a data. Now you can understand. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, now my question is, for example, let us say simplifies it here. So here, for example, I want to display this one. Which protocol I'm using, I want to display that one. So where it is available? Is it a data or it is a metadata?
Metadata.
So
Metadata.
your metadata is available where? Your metadata is available where?
Attributes.
Attribute, right? Now you can see it. So I am adding one more logger. So here you can understand the difference. So how we can able to start it? Mule expression.
Hash.
Dash within the square bracket. So here we need to use attribute, right?
Attributes.
attributes attributes. You can see attributes, you can closely observe it. Attributes is a single one or multiple items.
Multiple.
So in the multiple items, which one we need to print it? Which one we need to print it? What is the protocol I am using?
Protocol.
So you
Yeah.
can see this entire protocol is available inside of which variable?
Scheme.
Scheme is already available inside of which variable?
Attributes.
So then, for example, if you want to get this one, how we can able to call it? Attributes dot
Scheme.
That's it. So your attributes is not a single one, it is a multiple one. So we can call it. You can see it is automatically populating. See here we need to select a scheme now. It is automatically populating. Now go and see it whether it is getting that one or not. Starting taking time, don't worry. Yeah, now we can hit it. For example, I'm changing my data, so I can write it. Welcome to Mule World something. Okay, now we can send it. Okay, now go and see inside of your logger. You can see my flow started. The next one is whatever the data I am sending, I am printing. The next one is from the all our attributes. I don't want to print all of the attributes. I want to print only particular one and printing. So this is the way we can able to access your
Your message.
no,
Payload and attributes.
payload and
Attributes.
so what is the payload? Technically
Data.
speaking, data. What is the attributes?
Metadata.
So this is the point, just always remember. So these are only keywords available inside of the entire mule. So where your data is available means your data is available either inside of the payload or inside of the attributes. There are no other places are there. Just remember your entire codes or entire the mule project. So you need to use only these three words only, either payload, attributes, payload, attributes. Now the question is we need to identify where your data is available, which properties I need to use it. That's it. So no other keywords are there, no other things we don't need to remember. So we need to remember only these three words: payload, attributes, payload, attributes. Okay, you got it right. What is the payload and what is the attributes?
Yes.
Right, got it. Anyone, any doubts from others? Any doubts? If you guys have no doubts, then we can move to the next one.
Shrikant, I have a doubt. Can
Yeah.
you please repeat metadata? I was not able to follow
Yeah, so
metadata.
you can see, oh yeah, 1 second. Let me see. For example, we're still getting some data. What is the metadata? So here, which component I'm using? What is the
Right?
what is the com what is the
HTTP
component here?
listener.
Right now,
HTTP.
for example, forget about that HTTP listener. Let's see. In the previous demo classes, we are using one more component, na file read. You guys
Read,
are
right.
remember? Now
Mhm.
you can understand the difference between the data and the metadata. Okay, let's see. So let's see. For example, I'm trying to read one particular file. Then we are going to see it. There is something, any data. Okay. The next one is we are going to print. Now you can see I'm going to print the metadata of this particular read component. How we can get it? How we can get it the
Hash.
metadata? Tell
Hash.
me. The hash.
Underscore.
Tell me.
Is an attribute?
Right now you can see it. I don't know.
Not.
So what is the everything? Let's see. Okay. Let's save the one. Let's okay. It is an executing. Let's see. Now you can clearly identify the difference between data and metadata. Okay. Now we can hit it. Okay, let's see inside of the logger. Now you can see this is the entire metadata of your file component, right? So I can copy it and place here. Now you can see this is the attribute. I'm dividing it. You can understand what the first thing is. You can see what is the first thing: creation time. Is it a directory or not? What is the last access time? What is the last modified time? Is it a file or a directory? What is the size of your file? And what is there any symbolic links are there? What is the name of the file? So where it is saving, everything it is displaying. Now you guys tell me, is it the data inside of that file or is it the properties of that particular file?
So it's more or less attributes. So it should be property, right?
That means you can see the property. What is the meaning of the property? You can take one file. What are the properties for that file? Who created that file? What is the size of that file? Who
File.
modify it, right? So these are all properties. So you can see. So inside of attributes, which one it is displaying? So you are using the file connector. That particular file connector having these properties. Those are it is available, right?
Mhm.
Okay, for example, maybe you are asking one more question. What is the usage of this attribute? Let us, I am repeating the same question. So you can see what I am, you can see. So you are try to reading something. Okay, so which one you are reading? So you are reading a file or directory. I want to know how we can able to identify it. You can see you are reading something, right? XYZ something you are reading. So I want to inspect it. So what is it is? Is it a file or is it is directory? So where we can see that one? You can see this is the, by using this one information, you can able to see it. Is there any meaningful information is there here? Is it a file or is it a directory? We can able to identify anything.
Think it's a file.
You can see what is the property, just read out.
Directory false.
So directory equal to false means, if directory equal to true means whatever you are opening, that is a directory. If it is a false means, what is the other thing? Directory is nothing but it is a folder. It is a not a directory, that means it is a obviously
Highlight.
file, right?
Hmm.
Now you can see that is that. So you can see you need to perform some operations. For that one we need to properties. So how we can get that properties means by using attributes. Let us take one more scenario. So you are creating one API. That API can allow you maximum of 5 MB of file data, right? So whatever the files are above the 5 MB data, we were not going to process it. So this is your use case. How we can able to identify the size of a file? By specifying the name, you can able to identify it. No, right?
No,
So again,
no.
you can see, is there any property here we can able to pick it to identify the file size?
Yeah, size is there.
So
Size
you
is
can see
equal.
that means that now you can understand the where we can use these properties, the metadata,
Okay.
right? So this the way in the future you can able to understand everything one by one, one by one. The properties and whatever the metadata we are talking about is the most useful one, because you want to identify that particular file is available inside of the directory or not. So again, we need to use the properties only. So there are, in the future you can understand. As of now, just remember. So whenever we want to access the properties of that particular connector, so where it is available means inside of
Attributes, metadata.
attributes only. So whatever the data it is generated by that particular component, where it is available,
Payload.
payload. So this is the one, just remember it. One by one, you can able to follow it. Okay. So now you can understand how we can access the data and how we can able to access the, data is there. What is the other thing?
Metadata.
Metadata. Data
Metadata.
about data.
That's it, right? So these are the one. Okay. Let's see. So you can see. So these are the components you can see. For example, before starting of the mule, I want to inspect it. So the beauty of the mulesoft is before in the GUI also we can able to inspect your metadata also. You can see, for example, this is the component, right? So you can simply click on this HTTP listener. Now I want to identify what is the output of, or otherwise what is the metadata generated by this particular components. So where we can able to see it means you can simply select this one. You can go to the right hand side. There is a two things you can able to see. What the first thing? There is a two tabs you can
Input
able
and
to see,
Input,
output.
input
output.
and output. So forget about the input. You can simply click on output. So again, you can see the output also. This particular component generating mule message. You can see entire mule message. Again, it is a payload and
Attributes.
now you can click on attributes, you can see. So that means these are the particular these are the properties of this particular component. So we no need to remember anything here. Everything it is displaying here. For example, you want to know the what is the name of the method. So we need to select this property. So everything it is displaying here. So we no need to buy heart it, we no need to do any API, we no need to take any reference. Everything it is displaying here. For example, this is the file component, right? I am selecting this one. Now I want to inspect it. What is the property generated by this particular one? So property is nothing but the metadata. Where metadata is available inside of the input or output?
Output.
Click on output, you can see. So everything it is available, you can see. So we no need to remember anything. So just we need to inspect it. So from this one, which one I want to pick it, that's only you want to take care about it. So everything it is identifies it. Okay, so they can simplify it. For example, in the Java point of view, you can take. So we need to remember the what are the package you are using inside of the package, what are the methods, what are the syntax, everything we need to remember it. Otherwise, if you are using any IDEs, they are suggesting. But anyhow, somewhat we need to remember it now. So here we no need to remember everything. It is displaying here from this list. We'll have to select it. Got it, guys? There is
Yeah.
Yes.
simplifying. Everything is available in the UI, right? So we need to pick it which one you want it. That is the simplifying of getting the data, reading the data, and accessing the data. Okay. So yeah, that attributes and everything it is available. That's all about the consuming of the data and everything. So that's all for today's class, because I don't want overflow all the things in one single class. So today's class, just remember, so what is the name you have to refer to access your data? What is the name where your data is available?
Yeah, attributes.
No, no, no,
Payload.
no.
Payload. Our
That's
data is
so
available
the
in payload.
payload, just remember the data payload is nothing but data. So
And
what
the
is the one?
attributes. Data about the component.
Attributes, that technically first we can remember one thing, metadata. Technically, what is the metadata is nothing but properties in general point of view, properties. Okay, so attributes is a single one or multiple ones?
Multiple.
Multiple.
Attributes are multiple things. So whenever we have the multiple things, I can able to access one by one, we can simply give the dot operator, then particular property one, property two, you want it.
String. Yes.
Property one, something I can write it. Then you guys are remember it. Attributes dot. So what are the different attributes we will see in the future classes, right? Property to something. So how we can able to access this entire thing? By writing
Will expression.
mule expression. So how we can
Hash.
start your mule expression? Always starts with the hash and within the
Square bracket.
square
Square bracket.
bracket. So for example, you want to display the payload, then we can give, sorry, payload. Okay, for example, the one
Attributes.
attributes dot particular, for example, schema cheme something. Okay, so this is the way we can able to read the data, right, inside of your inside of your inside of
Flow.
your
Mule
no
flow.
no no mule.
Message.
Yes, that's it. Okay, for the each component we have the mule message. Okay, that's it. Okay, so these are the things. This is the only thing, payload attributes. So there are no other places are there. Everything is available inside of these two words only. There is one more thing is there, that we can call it as a variable. We will see in later point. Okay, tomorrow we will see how we can able to create a variable and everything. Okay, so that's all for today's class. So you guys have any doubts, then you can ask it. Someone is raising hand, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, I want to share my screen. I don't need to hold anybody. I'll share my screen at last
One second, guys. So
after our
is
question.
okay, at the end of the class we are going to see it. Yeah. So is there any other guys or any doubts here? Yes or no, something? You guys are able to understand, right? So someone is raising hand. Yeah, Prakash. Yeah, tell me. Yeah.
Yeah. So my next question is also on same metadata. So metadata, like when we like define a real-time database, so
No, no,
we
no, no, no. You can see. Yeah, I got it. So
Yeah.
maybe you are confusing in the database point of view. You are taking the method that is somewhat different, right?
So this is why I got
Yeah,
confused.
you can see maybe we can interrelate that example also. Just give me 5 minutes. Okay. So for example, you are creating a table inside of the database, right? What is the structure of your table? For example, employee ID, right?
ID,
The next
name,
one is next
name,
what is the name, right?
Employee
The
name,
next one is
address,
the
address.
salary,
address.
job. So this is the structure, right? So
Mhm.
what is the exact of employee ID? What is it is? What is employee ID? Is
Number,
it a string or a number? What is it is?
number,
It is a number, right? Right.
yeah,
Okay. What is the name? It is a varchar,
varchar
right? So salary,
Double.
can be float or yeah,
some
double
numeric or
numeric.
number,
Mhm.
right? What is the job again?
Can be
String.
Varchar, right?
Varchar.
So whatever the you are seeing the number, varchar, number, these we can call it as a metadata, technically, right?
True.
right?
Data
So
type,
you can
yeah.
see what nothing but what is the employee ID is what it is a number data type, but is the property of this particular one, right? Which kind of data it is holding, that is we can call it as a property, right?
Okay.
This is the metadata. The
Mhm.
same thing we can explain here. So what kind of properties we have that particular connector, that we can call it as attributes. Both are same, right?
Cool.
So
Yeah, got it.
yeah,
Got it now.
technically the metadata we can call it data about data. They are using same kind of definition. When we simplify that one, what are the properties of that particular one, we can call it as a metadata. When we simplify generalize things. Yeah. So is there any other doubts, guys? Okay, let me
See,
stop.
yesterday, Srinath, we have created flow, right? Yesterday.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Can you create that again?
Which
I
one?
got
The
some
multiple
error.
flows, right?
Yes.
So rather
One.
that let's create in mine, and I also have doubts, so it will be more clear.
Okay, yeah, okay. Okay, let me. Okay,
Um,
okay. First, let
If
me
you
stop screen